I have not so much a question, but mostly a comment. Um, I have multiple workstations in my um, station, if you will, and I've been having lots of problems with in my templates, my item templates of things populating, and Beth suggested that I resave those, rename them, resave them. And I've been doing that, and some of them work more consistently than others that way. But I still have a library or two, and it seems to be with one or two libraries that they just don't work no matter what I do. So I've actually even removed all of the templates, and I'm trying to repopulate each and every one of them for that library. And it's still kind of iffy on some of them, Beth. I just thought I'd let you know that.
No, I appreciate the feedback. I'm looking forward to these kind of things being stored on the server because it just, to me, I think it's problematic storing it in the browser. I don't know.
So would you explain that? Because I heard that in the CERC, something about the that it will then be stored on the server. And
Mm-hmm.
so can you explain how or why how that's going to happen? Because I'm a little confused now because of the web browser side of things. And
Oh, got it. It's just that we're not going to be dependent on the web browser for storing things like our templates, our copy templates, our print templates. My understanding is that I'm not sure whether it's 3.3 or 3.4, that the settings will be stored on the server. And so if you inadvertently clear your cache, or your browser, all your browser settings get wiped out, you're not vulnerable. And I think there's been complaints about the fact that it is more vulnerable and more problematic. So what I don't know offhand, and I'm going to have to look into this, is whether those settings are going to be stored by login at that point. Because there's got to be either that or it's still workstation specific, but it would be stored under your workstation name in some table on the server. Does that make sense?
yes, thanks.
Uh-huh.
So Beth, do you think that will help resolve some of these problems where, like, it feels a lot like even if, even if we're all using Chrome, even if we're all using,
Yes.
a particular operating system, that it works for some people and it doesn't work for other people, just kind of like what Dia was saying, that even though she has been able, for the most part, to get her templates to work on some machines, it doesn't work at all. And we've certainly have had that experience at Hood River. And like, is it because, like, there might be some little things in the way, like some kind of like hidden settings in our browser that is making a difference?
That's what I'm speculating as to the cause, and I feel like it'll make things more consistent for us once they're stored on the server.
But then that wouldn't necessarily explain what's going on with mine, because mine are all on one workstation.
Right, one workstation, one browser.
With multiple.
Yeah.
One browser with multiple workstations and multiple templates.
And it's just that it's other libraries templates that you're on your station.
Yes, I work. I have like 12 different ones I work on.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I noticed when I was doing a little prep work before our session today, I was trying to access one of my templates from Union, and it didn't populate at all. So as a part of the exercise today, I might recreate that one, depending on if we have other questions.
And if it works that way or not, because it doesn't always repeat itself.
No, it doesn't. That's true.
Which makes it really hard to try to problem solve it.
It does, because it's like, it's like the roll of the dice, and I don't like things that operate that way randomly. So there have been other complaints in the Evergreen community about these copy templates and the fact that there have been inconsistency in populating. So, and the cataloger group is a very active group, and they have meetings every month, and they make sure the developers know about their issues. So I don't have any. I know that it's going to be resolved at some point. And I think what we're doing now is we're just trying to make the best of it while we're learning. I mean, obviously we can still use the desktop client, but we're trying to use the web client as much as possible in the interim. One of the things I'm going to get set up, I've asked John to see if he could get our test server upgraded to at least 3.3. But if we don't get that done soon, there's plenty of demo servers out there, and I think in one of our sessions maybe we'll try out one of those demo servers or our test server and see if some of these issues are more resolved, or at least if we have better performance. Go ahead, Dia.
Is that the version you're planning to go to then, is 3.2 at this point?
3.3 or 3.4, depending on what its state is at the time of our upgrade. We haven't scheduled our upgrade yet. I'm thinking at this point, you know, my original estimate was November, December. I'm kind of leaning towards December to allow us to get more little training modules up on the system and make sure that all the libraries have been contacted and have at least gotten into the web client. That's what I'm trying to do with site visits, is expose libraries to the web client so that it's not a big shock when that time comes. So yeah, I'd like to get on to one of the later versions and see, highlight the differences. And it'll also give us a chance to define some templates, see if we can get them consistently applying within our browser, that kind of thing. So some of the future of training. So other than copy templates, is there anything else we want to cover today?
Beth, I remember reading in Lori's email that she was having some trouble with copy alerts.
Yes.
And I was wondering if it might be helpful to talk about the differences between copy alerts versus the old alert message in the staff client. And I know we've had some situations here where some show up in one and some don't show up in another, and we have kind of a mix of folks right now using web client and staff client, which obviously in the future, you know, everybody will be using the web client, but just how to replace the functionality of the alert message with the copy alert system that's in the web client. Do you think that might be worth?
Yeah, that's what I was going to go to if we didn't have any other suggestions, John. So I'm glad you brought it up. Copy the alert message has gone away and has been replaced with what's called a copy alert. And they did that because they wanted to increase the functionality and the customizability of the copy alert. And when you're saying, John, that you're seeing some inconsistency, I might need to look at the items in there and see what alert was set for them. What I just did before our session started was I created a new alert type And this was a suggestion that I got at the Evergreen conference, was to define a copy alert that works for any event, so that you don't have to set a separate alert for check-in and a separate alert for check-out. If you want to have it alert you anytime something is happening with that item, you can specify that, and it's a little bit shorter. So let me go ahead and catalog a book and add a copy alert. Well, it's kind of silly to add a copy alert for a book. Well, we'll do it anyway. I can always remove it because I have a book in front of me. Okay, I did not specify the author, so to do a little scrolling. Okay. Add copies. I have to come up with a unique barcode. Let's see if that's one. And I better write it down so I can delete it later. All right, so when I was talking before, I have a union template, union adult fiction. I clicked apply. Sure enough, it mostly worked. Here again, we're seeing a mixed bag. It set the circulation modifier and those kind of things, but it did not set the shelving location. Is this kind of what you're seeing, Dia?
Yeah.
Okay.
And a lovely one day was when the circulation library went to an entirely different library, and I didn't notice it.
Oh, nice. Well, not
so
so
yeah,
nice.
it put the items all into transit for this other library, and I get this phone call. Yeah, wasn't good.
Okay. So at this point, I've populated my template. I could put in a price. I have to set this. Okay, so at this point, I could save and exit. What I might do is store selected, completed copies. This is the first time I've done this. Okay. Edit selected.
I find the store selected and working on completed copies sometimes a bit clunky because you can't. There's like, I guess there's a part where you have to make sure that you put, like if you've got multiple copies that you've stored, you have to actually make sure you bring them all back to before you save and exit. Otherwise, it won't save all of them.
Got it.
It'll only save the ones that you're actually working on.
Yeah, I haven't used it a lot, and I need to use it some more to get familiar with it. It does seem clunky to me, so I'm going to be exploring this a little bit more and also seeing how it has changed in the future versions, because to me, I don't know that it's helpful at this point. So copy alerts. If I wanted to add a copy alert to this particular item, you see now there's this any event at the top. And I could specify what I want my alert message to be. Now, this doesn't make sense, folks, for a book, but it's just a pretend example.
Hey Beth, can I ask, does that any event also include the renewal module or no?
It could. At this point, it does not. And so I guess that's something within the settings. I can bring that up real quick here.
Because I can see how that might be helpful for some items, and I can see how it would not be helpful for others.
Correct. So right now, this particular alert, it has no during renewal, but you could switch that to yes. So I think we'll just have to kind of try it out and see where there's a big push one way or the other.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, looking at the other renewals there, they're all yes.
Not all of them. There's a bunch here that are not active.
Oh, okay.
And I don't
looking
know.
At the during renewal side.
Yeah. So the ones that are active have renewal no.
Okay.
And so we kind of just
Gotcha.
left the default settings that came with the Evergreen upgrade. So obviously we have flexibility, but I'm thinking, okay, maybe the defaults were there for a reason. So I haven't messed with them a lot.
No, that makes sense.
But at least we have the we know that we have the flexibility to change it if it's not meeting our needs. Right. But in the past, when I went over copy alerts, I was having folks establish separate copy alerts for checkout and check-in.
Mm-hmm.
And this any event means that all they have to do is set it once.
Gotcha.
So if I go back to the volume copy editor, I created that copy alert. It's in here under existing copy alerts. But the important thing is you have to remember to save it again. It's my understanding because it doesn't automatically save it. I guess one of the things that Lori had mentioned in her email was that her copy alert did not stay when she did it as a part of the item creation process. And I wanted to get feedback from the rest of you that have done the copy alerts. Are you seeing the same behavior? Are you creating your item first, saving it, and then creating the copy alert? What kind of workflow are you doing, and are you seeing problems?
When I have gotten them actually set into my template and they have actually successfully populated there, they seem to be holding for the most part. Occasionally when I always double check my items after I put them in, just because lately it's been so iffy. But it seems like there are times that it does and other times it doesn't. So
okay,
I can't really help much with that either.
So
for the most part, they seem.
You're setting your copy alerts as a part of your copy template.
Right.
Okay. So if I came in here and I looked at the Union template, like the Union audio, I clicked on apply. Wow, $78.99. I think I'll put that as a 0 for the default. Okay, circulating library is unset. Interesting. So you set that in your copy templates, correct, Dia?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so I've got, I can do in process.
I wouldn't set that in process, but that's just me.
Okay, so that's something you do on an individual
because
basis?
I found if for some reason it's not, if it's already been checked out as a pre-CAD or something, and it's still checked out, it'll override it.
Okay.
So, but again, I work with in a little different fashion than most too. So.
That's true.
But just to be aware that that does tend to override something.
Yeah,
that's already
so you have to be careful.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I've noticed as well, I'm not sure that I've noticed this, but I'm wondering if, depending on whether or not we've populated a field or set a field, saved a field, then I've had problems with like kind of switching back and forth between templates and for different items that I'm cataloging. I notice that sometimes there will be a particular field that will carry over from the last item that I cataloged, even though I've applied a new template. And so it won't necessarily go back to blank. It'll hold on to the last thing that was entered into that field, which has nothing to do with that new template.
Right.
So,
right. Okay, so another copy template bug.
Right.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to go ahead. Go ahead, John.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead and do what you're going to do, because it's been my frustration that after creating copy alerts, I'm always in the habit of refreshing the page after I do just about anything. And I wonder if this may have been part of Lori's frustration in that she does something and then if she isn't refreshing the page, then she doesn't see what she's done. And this doesn't just apply to copy alerts, but to almost any change I make in the web client.
Yeah, and I know that there were a lot of requests by catalogers saying this screen needs to refresh after this function. And so some of those changes have been implemented in later versions, just not in our version. So I'm going to go ahead and save this copy template that I'm working on right now. Okay. And it did indicate that it saved it. So that's a better way to get your copy alerts in there, especially for your audio and your DVD. Although, are most sites customizing it and saying how many discs there are?
Mine I am.
So
yeah, we do too.
So what do you have to do with your copy template though? Then you have to change the alert once you're doing that specific item?
Yeah, I think most of mine I have set for one.
Okay.
But when I do have, the occasional have 2 discs or something, then I will go and make that change.
Okay. So you've got your default in your copy template for your copy alert to the most common one, and then you're just changing it in the item when you need to. Okay.
Right.
Okay. So I've saved that template. If I wanted to go back and I just made a change to the template. I didn't make any changes to the item itself.
Beth, you know how you said previously that if we put a copy alert on an item while we're in the desktop client, it won't carry over to the web client. and that we need to actually enter them directly into the web client. So I noticed one
Well, there's
thing.
no place in this in the desktop staff client to put. Oh, if you put an alert message in, correct. It will not. They were all transferred over to copy alerts when our upgrade took place.
So, okay, so I guess that must be what it is. It's that I just entered, I guess it must have been an alert message on an item in the desktop client. And I do see that it's like it's showing up as an alert message in like item status. So that's what you're saying, is that it will show up, but it'll only show up as an alert message. It won't be like it
Triggered at check-in or checkout.
Yeah, I guess that's what it is, right?
Yeah.
So it's certainly not like I just looked at the item and it's not being listed as like if I click on copy alerts in the item attribute editor, it doesn't show up as a copy alert. So that's it.
Correct.
Is that
Yeah.
it still understands an alert message, or the web client still understands an alert message, but it won't.
The staff client does, but the web client doesn't show it, does it?
It does. I'm looking at it right now, and it says I'm on the scan item page, and I scanned in the barcode, and the first thing I have in that column is alert message, and it shows the alert message that I added to the item in the desktop client.
Yeah, in the desktop client, huh?
So it's carried it over, and it looks like, which means that it looks like there's a place. Do you want me to tell you what the barcode is?
Yeah, let's do that so we can bring it up.
33892 002 141 639. So there we see alert message, and that was added in the desktop client.
Okay.
Now, I guess the alerts, the copy alerts that we're adding, then those show up under that alerts column, right? So they're actually classified differently. Is that the case?
Yeah, they are classified differently. My assumption is that the alert message functionality, in reading through the documentation, the alert message no longer controls when an alert pops up on check-in and check-out. In order to do that, you need to have the copy alert. And that alert messages in the old system were transferred over to copy alerts in the new system. So you needed to use the web client in order to see those alerts at check-in and check-out. So I'm going to have to look at the tables and see. The copy alerts are stored in a separate table, so this alert message must still be stored as a part of the item, but obviously old ones were brought over into the copy alerts, so we're not going to have as many in this alert message field. But if people are adding them there, I might need to do some I might have to do some transporting of those over to copy alerts for folks.
So that's interesting that they would have
Yes.
a column for that if technically we can't add.
Well, technically they aren't going to see that message on, I don't want to check this item in because it's missing. I was trying to see whether it would do anything.
I mean, we can test it because I can just mark it missing again. after we do this, but we could try and
Okay.
check it and see what
Well, let me grab this
happened.
barcode. Of course, I'm logged in as a Union workstation. So,
Oh, you want me to just do it on my station then? I can go ahead and
sure.
check it and
Thanks,
then
Hannah.
just see what happens. um, so I got a copy alert that the copy was marked missing, and that was the only alert that I got.
Okay, so you didn't get this item barcode found on floor.
Right, and I wonder if now. Okay, so I just scanned it back into this item status page to see if then it also somehow removed the other alert message, and the alert message is still on it. So all it did was react to the missing status.
Okay. So, Lori, the copy alerts don't show up in the item attributes. In the web client, they're in a separate area. Was that your question? Oh, just a comment. Okay. So I brought this item up that Anna gave as an example, just to look and see if there's any copy alerts, and there are no copy alerts. If we had put that same message in that's in the alert message, then it would, and specified what event we wanted it to come up at. Lori, one of the things that I had done, how do you put a copy alert in the web client? Basically, you can add it to your item in this combination volume item screen. One of the things that we covered earlier was how we could add it to a copy template so that it would automatically get populated as a part of the item. Oh, an alert message, so it displays in the attributes. The item attributes screen is a desktop client thing. We don't have that field showing here at all, do we? Because the alert message has been replaced by the copy alerts. So we're kind of in a state where we're living in two worlds. And the way the software has changed, the copy alerts are only going to be functional in the web client. You can't see any of our old alert messages. No, they were transferred from the alert messages in the items to copy alerts. So if you had an existing alert message in your item for audios and DVDs, things like that, they would have been transferred at the upgrade into a copy alert for that item.
And so it sounds like the only way to see any existing copy alerts on an item is to actually click on copy alerts.
Correct.
Right?
Certainly I could pull a report that showed by shelving location all the copy alerts for items, and that might allow us to do some cleanup if we needed to. Because I think that was one of the things when we upgraded that wasn't something that we knew at the onset, and so I think there's been some misunderstanding.
Hey Beth, in the item status screen,
Yes.
when you have copy alerts listed on the far right end, I've had some trouble. Now this one doesn't have any, of course, but I've had some trouble when I click on Manage and try to either edit alerts or add alerts or delete alerts. I have not had success in that screen like I have had in the copy editor, the way we had before. And my hope is that if I have the same functionality in this screen, because obviously you can have a whole list of items and then you can see their copy alert status kind of at a glance, all of them, and see if they have their alerts and not, and
Okay.
edit them that way. But like I said, I've been having problems using that editor.
Okay. Does it not work any of the time? Work sometimes, not other times? I'm going to do some research on this, John, to see, because when I've been working with copy alerts, I've been going into the combination volume item editor and not doing it through the item status screen.
Right, and me too. I've just gotten used to doing it that way, and just kind of, I don't know, given up on managing copy alerts in the item status screen.
Okay.
I know I've tried a time or two also, John, here to do that. Like when I've realized, oh, I don't think I remembered to change one to, from my default of one disk or whatever to, and tried to go back here and change it. And you're right, it doesn't work there. I had forgotten. I usually have to pull the item up.
You can't refresh the screen either, right? In item status, the old desktop client would whenever you would change something, but when you refresh the page,
it wipes it out.
You lose everything. Yeah, that's another.
It takes it back to like the beginning of an empty screen.
Exactly.
So, okay, I'm going to look into whether this has been fixed in a future version, and get back to the cataloging group. Because obviously this is a big shortfall and needs to be resolved for when we're using the web client exclusively. And Lori, I'm going to check on, it said it only displays when you check in, except you can't see any of them by clicking on copy alerts, as I recall. What have the rest of you seen? Pre-existing items in the system that has an alert, have you been able to see it in the copy alert, or is it not there?
One problem I've had, I don't know if this is your issue, Lori, is that if I have multiple items, multiple copies, and if I have multiple ones selected and I try to look at copy alerts, if I have more than one selected, I won't see copy alerts. I'll only see ones that I put on all of them as opposed to just one. Does that make sense? Now, if I have to make sure and go back and deselect all of the other ones and just select the one that has a copy alert on it, then when I go to copy alerts, I'll see copy alerts. But I imagine most of us are probably only working with one copy at a time.
Yeah, I was thinking that. I was just thinking that as well. It's like, well, I've only had one copy at a time.
Well, and in some respects, that kind of makes sense, kind of with the way other fields work with that too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it does make sense. I guess I want to make sure that those pre-existing item alert messages that were transferred over copy alerts are actually showing up, because we need to be able to edit them or remove them, that kind of thing. So.
And I can't say that I have really gone back and looked at that particularly.
Okay.
So I just added one to a copy alert, to the one that we've been looking at, and then pulled it up in the item status, and it did show that there was now a copy alert on it, clicked on manage, and was able to remove it. But I guess it sounds like it is temperamental from what everyone's saying. Oh, that's because I just removed it now.
Oh, okay. All right. I was thinking, gosh,
Okay.
is my result set cached or what's the deal? Okay, so it's removed. It's back to the way it was. It's good to experiment like this, and I know that the other versions of Evergreen are better cataloging wise, and I'm going to put out a list of all the enhancements. And like I said earlier, we are going to either use our test server if we can get it upgraded to 3.3 or 3.4, and or we'll use one of the demo servers and take a look at cataloging in those newer versions so that we can learn what has been resolved or what is still an issue. And we'll continue to have these sessions as well. I guess we've gone 45 minutes, so I think we should wrap things up. And I guess going forward, I mentioned this in the circulation question and answer session, wanting some direction of future trainings, how often we should do them, whether they should be topic focused so that people can listen in if they're interested in a particular topic, or should they be general like this one, question and answer. Kind of what I want to know what the needs and desires out there are. So as you're thinking about this and share some feedback, please.
I think kind of a combination of the two probably would be our better bet.
Okay, so
have some of each.
Okay, some of each. So don't try to do both of them in the same session.
Well, you might leave a little time for Q&A, if you will.
Okay.
Based on, somebody's experience with a particular, whatever your topic is, but.
Okay.
But I think overall, I don't know. Here, I've been at both of them today, as has Lori and Anna.
Yes.
But I noticed that you didn't get a whole lot of response this morning, whereas this, and it might have to do with the size of the group too, and or the fact that we're all used to talking to you about these issues.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's a lot of it.
I think sometimes it's also hard to remember the questions that people have, right? Especially like CERC staff, they probably, things might come up and then they'll forget whether that they that there was a problem somewhere along the line. I do have a question for those who are here because I know Beth and John have been trying to help us here at Hood River with our spine label printing issues. Is nobody else having problems printing out their spine labels?
We don't use Evergreen for spine labels here usually.
I can't. It seems like very few libraries are using Evergreen for spine label printing. So, John, you guys print them out separately. You type them up separately.
Right. And usually we'll separate that. Catalogers don't normally make spine labels, and so that usually gets that's usually a part of processing.
Okay. Interesting.
So, Anna, as I've been going out and doing site visits, some of them have a spine label printer, and I've been helping them get it set up. It seems as if each spine label printer has its own idiosyncrasies. We've been able to get, for the most part, the Dymo 450 to work consistently. But it depends on how much customization, and I know different label sizes have different issues too. So I think this is also something that's going to improve with the upgrade because they added more functionality within the spine label printing to do batch label printing and printing to an 8.5 by 11 size sheet of labels. That kind of functionality has been added. And so we may see a difference in those later versions too. So that might be something else for us to test out when we're on the demo server or the test server.
Okay.
See if that improves.
It's been such a headache.
I know. You are getting some labels out with using is it the Windows client? Is the Linux client still, sorry, not the client, using the browser on your Linux machines? Is that still problematic?
Yeah, right. So it's one of those things where I'm technically working on a Linux station, so I have to stay with the desktop client, but I do now have a second machine set up as a Windows machine where I could, if I wanted to use the web client, actually print a correct spine label. But it's also one of these things, so okay, do we need to actually switch to Windows to get this to work, or should we try and hold out and see if these improvements will be made with Linux and we can get it going, you know?
Yeah, and I know John had, installed, got a Linux workstation working, and he was able to print.
Right. And
so it's like, okay, so we'll continue to troubleshoot, but it does get frustrating when there's little differences that are making our life difficult.
especially when, right, like the whole idea behind the web client is that it shouldn't make a difference, right? That I'm sitting here in Hood River and John is sitting wherever he's sitting. And yet that seems to be the case.
Yep.
Well, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. It's a work in progress. Okay. Lori's waiting us to solve all the spine label issues. Okay. Well, we do have some hints if you want to get a Dymo 450, but I understand waiting as well. So, Lori, you were saying you've had several items completely vanish, as though you deleted them by attempting to add a copy alert. Has anybody else experienced that?
I feel like there are more items that just seem to be vanishing in general that has nothing to do with adding a copy alert.
Yeah, we found a couple items were deleted in the system. We were able to bring them back, but we don't know why they were deleted. Yeah, it's kind of an unknown, Anna. I haven't heard a lot of incidents of that, but I know it's been an issue at Hood River. So each example that comes up, we're trying to troubleshoot.
Because I've also noticed that in many of these cases, it shows that the item barcode still exists in the system. So when I try and add the item again, it'll say, oh, there's already an item with this barcode, but I can't find it. It's not attached to any holding anymore. And so then I have to go through this even more circuitous method of getting.
Well, we have a way of looking it up in the system. So when you come across those, we can resurrect them most of the time.
Okay.
Because typically what happens when an item is deleted in the system, it doesn't completely go away. It just gets the delete flag set on it. And so we can undelete the item, undelete the call number associated with the item, and magically you see it underneath the bib. Now, why those associations would disappear, I mean, why the item would be deleted, I don't know. Some of that we can look back on history and find out exactly when that delete flag was set and by who. And we can find, I guess, do a little detective work that way. But other times it's more difficult. There may be a way. Yeah, see, without doing an inventory, it's difficult to know which items the system doesn't realize you still have. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, and it sounds like, so Lori, you're saying that you, at the moment that you add a copy alert, your items will vanish?
Yeah, Lori, on your question about needing a barcode to trace the history, yeah, we do. Because the ID associated with the copy isn't something that you would have recorded anywhere, so the barcodes are only link to that copy ID. And Lori answered yes. Oh. Multiple copies held in Harney County under the same bib. Put on an alert, poof. So this is an example where you're trying to add an alert to multiple items. Have you saved the items in the past? Oh, just trying to put an alert. John mentioned earlier that he had trouble putting an alert on a single item if he had all the other ones selected.
And is this, could it be that, and Lori, it wasn't that you had stored selected, went to work on one to put a copy alert, and then the others were gone?
Well, I don't know what's going on, Lori. I think what we're going to have to do is, if it happens to you again, maybe we can do some lookup on the database for that particular barcode to see if anything was ever saved in the first place. Yeah, this is just bizarre. I don't know that any of the rest of us have experienced this. Okay, not all that you experiment with, but a few. Okay, well, we're going to have to, I guess, keep sharing feedback. Yeah, cautionary tale. Without knowing what caused it, we don't know what steps to take to prevent it. So as we're adding copy alerts, I guess if we see weird stuff, document it, and let's share it with a group and see if we can't build up a repertoire of strange happenings with copy alerts. And there again, the functionality of this might be improved with later versions too. I'll take a look at that, see if there's been any bug fixes for copy alerts. Or other things that have been reported that are similar. Okay, thanks. I'll look for that email, Lori, about the barcode that says it's no longer in the system. Okay, thanks everybody. We'll schedule some more of these. Any feedback on how often? Every 2 weeks? Once a month? Okay, Lori's saying every 2 weeks. Okay. All right, thanks everyone. Have a good rest of the day. Thanks for the participation.